Hi, welcome to Clearing the Smoke with Christy Orders on AmericaAgainstHollywood.com. Well, we've had a few days to process the debate in our minds, and I know I'm not alone when I say I'm a little disappointed in Trump's performance. He missed several opportunities to really show how many great things he's done for this country, and I thought he was going to be better than he was. Everyone I was watching with, I have this fun group called the Trump Train, and we love to watch things like this together. So shout out to my girlfriends on the Trump Train. We all were watching it together, and we felt like we were watching our favorite football team, and they were repeatedly fumbling. That's sort of the frustration we had that night. I'm sure many of you had the same feeling. But a huge part of my frustration was actually Chris Wallace. I mean, supposedly he was supposed to be the one who was on Trump's side, you know, Fox News or whatever. That's what the mainstream media tries to say. Well, Chris Wallace is no friend of Trump. He never has been. He's a registered Democrat. He hangs out with all the Hollywood crowd. He loves Obama. And I knew he wasn't going to be good, but I didn't think he'd be quite this biased. I mean, it was blatant. He repeatedly interrupted Trump. He tried to redirect the conversation back to help Biden. He actually, several times, he like rolling his eyes and laughing with Biden as though like, oh yeah, because they were on it together. They really were. And Trump was right when he said, I feel like I'm debating two people. So it was just despicable. That was so frustrating. But then again, of course, Trump could have done a lot of things better. But Biden did not win by any chance. And of course, most people are saying they didn't think Biden won, but Trump didn't win like he should have. But Biden really only has two things going for him. One is that he's this classy elder statesman. You know, he's going to restore dignity and integrity to Washington. Blech. No, he's not. And you kind of got to see his dirty underbelly during the debate. No classy statesman says clown. It calls someone a clown twice, and certainly doesn't say shut up, man. When Biden said that to Trump, I really wish Trump had just stopped for a second and said, did you just tell me to shut up? It would have been so great just to have watched him having to kind of respond to that. But of course, Trump being the street fighter that he is, I don't think he was even fazed by it. He's probably heard a lot worse. I think the audience was actually more upset by what Biden said than Trump was. But it was just so rude, and Biden just seemed so. We're used to Trump being brash and kind of aggressive, but Biden just seemed so unpleasant. And the other thing that he tries to go on, the only other thing he really can fight against with Trump is how he would handle the coronavirus. What exactly would Biden have done differently? He never really has to say that. During the primary debate, someone asked him how you would have handled it, and he said, "We would have gotten everyone into the Situation Room and asked the experts, and we would have followed their advice." Well, yeah, isn't that exactly what Trump has done? I mean, he's followed the advice of these people like Fauci, who I don't even trust anyway, but he's tried to follow their advice. He did everything he could for getting supplies. All the governors said Trump did a great job. I still don't understand why he's acting as though Trump has all this blood on his hands. Aren't we, number 10th in the world for coronavirus deaths? Are all those other world leaders, are they all, murderers too? I just don't understand how Biden gets away with acting as though he would have done anything differently with this. And then also saying, well, you shut down the economy to Trump. Well, he was sort of forced to. He didn't want to. It was very telling when Trump said, Americans they want their businesses open. They want to work. They want to live their lives. And Biden said, they want to be safe. I think that is a perfect example of the difference between the right and the left. The left just wants you to be safe. The government will take care of you. Stay home. Be quiet. Wait for us to tell you what to do. And that's not the way people on the right want to live. I thought that was very telling. I don't know how many other people really noticed that, but I definitely took note of that. Several of the things that Wallace said were so unfair, like when he said, you're holding these big rallies as though it's so irresponsible. Well, first of all, the rallies are a really big part of Trump's charm. He didn't get to hold them all during last spring, but now he is. People want to go to them. They're outside. They're following the protocols. And it was funny when Trump said something, well, no one would come to your rallies, which is very true. Biden can't seem to muster up much of a crowd. I also loved when Biden said, get out of your bunker, man. I thought, oh, that's really ironic because you've been hiding out in your bunker for months, barely making an appearance for more than 10 minutes at a time. So it was such an ironic thing, such a tone-deaf thing for Biden to say, for Trump to come out of his bunker. Trump's been going all around the country like the Energizer Bunny and asking people what they think and answering questions, and it's just ridiculous. But another thing that's interesting, why didn't Wallace bring this up? what about how these protests, aren't they dangerous then? Even the peaceful protests, couldn't you get corona by standing around with other people peacefully protesting? Why don't they bring that up? And of course, most of these protests, as we know, are not peaceful at all, which leads into the ridiculous questions where when Wallace tried to tie in like the Kenosha riots to white supremacy, and some act as though Trump is responsible for that. First of all, everybody knows this is a left-wing thing. This is Antifa. This is the Black Lives Matter group, which is basically a Marxist group, a very anti-American group. If you look at their website, that is not about caring about black people at all. We all agree Black Lives Matter, but the Black Lives Matter group is very scary and bad. Biden would not denounce them. He refused to denounce them, and Wallace didn't hold his feet to the fire on that. So why is Trump supposed to keep denouncing white supremacists? He has repeatedly, and of course I do wish he'd said it more clearly. He could have used that opportunity to say, by the way, the media has spliced and diced my responses in Charlottesville and has been unfair to me before. I'm going to say it right now. Here's what I said in Charlottesville, and then go on from there. He should have done it. He had a chance when everybody was listening. But he has repeatedly, on record, said, I completely disavow these people. He has labeled the KKK as a terrorist organization. He also should have said all the amazing things he's done for black people. He, not only the urban revitalization, the school choice, of course, obviously the economy and the jobs for black people were over the top. I mean, so good before this virus. But also the First Step Act, and he kind of briefly touched on the whole idea of the crime bill and what he's done with the First Step Act, but he barely got to talk about it, and I wish that people who don't know could understand what this really is. Biden, who tries to claim like he's this wonderful guy for racial harmony, it's called the Biden crime bill in 1994. It has his name on it, and he helped pass this bill where more black people end up being sent to prison because they made crack cocaine have a harsher sentence than regular cocaine. So of course that affected the black community more. He called the black criminals super predators. He has said all sorts of other things in the past too, like he didn't want his kids going to school in a racial jungle. He has befriended all sorts of segregationists and white supremacists in the past. He is no friend to the black community. He's a total poser. Trump has done so much more than he has, and I wish that had been called out. What about all the stuff Biden has said and done in the past? So Trump has helped people get out of prison with the First Step Act. Some of these very people who had crack sentences are now getting out of them. One of them, Alice Marie Johnson, spoke at the RNC. She was fabulous, and she is so grateful to Trump. He's actually gotten hundreds and hundreds of people, probably close to 1,000 people out of prison because of his First Step Act. He worked with Kim Kardashian on that, getting these people who have non-violent sentences or out of prison. So that's so amazing. That's the kind of stuff that really makes a difference, and he's not getting credit for it at all. And I wish, of course, he had brought that up, but I'm bringing it up now because I want people to understand. So that was another frustrating thing. And then when Wallace also said, what's so radical about racial sensitivity training, which wasn't really his place to say that, to be arguing with Trump. The racial sensitivity training, like a lot of things on the left, it sounds really nice, right? Oh, racial sensitivity training. Well, when you look into it, what it really boils down to is opportunities in the workplace for black people to actually yell at white people and vent their frustration. The white people are supposed to just sit there and contemplate their whiteness and their guilt for who they are as white people. Well, isn't that intrinsically racist too? That does nothing, as Trump said, that does nothing to help a healthy work environment at all. None of this stuff does. And Trump said, I'm not having any of it. And I love that he's willing to be politically incorrect and do what is right. So Wallace I'm so disgusted by him. What's so frustrating is that the next two debates, we have Steve Scully, who often says, oh yeah, he's been on C-SPAN, a real straight shooter. Well, you need to look at his Twitter feed and his social media from 2016. He was an avid anti-Trumper, and he actually said the voters deserve respect, their candidate doesn't. So now we have a guy who knows or thinks that Trump doesn't deserve any respect. He's going to be moderating this debate. He also was an intern for Biden, an actual intern for Biden, and then he worked for Teddy Kennedy. So we really know he's going to be really unbiased, isn't he? What a joke. And it's going to be a town hall style meeting. So there'll be lots of chances to sandbag Trump. Supposed third-party voters or non-decided voters will ask questions, and they'll be scathing, really unfair, damning type questions, and then they'll lob a few softballs at Biden. So this is going to prepare for this one to even be more infuriating than the other debate was. And then after that, we have Kirsten Welker, and she is an NBC correspondent and works with the White House press corps. So that will be really lovely too, because we know NBC and the White House press corps just loves Trump as well. So be prepared for more chicanery coming from the press and more unfairness to Trump. But anyhow, so we have next week the vice presidential debate and then 2 more debates. So it'll be interesting to watch. It'll be also interesting to see how Trump responds now. We know he has COVID-19. Of course, the press wants to vilify him and make it seem like it was his own fault. They also kind of signing his death warrant, because if he's 70, he must be about to die. And even though he lives on Diet Coke and McDonald's, I do think that he's probably going to be okay. I sure hope so. I'm praying for him and his family, and of course for Melania as well as him. But he is the most high energy guy, and I have a feeling God's looking out for him, and he will make it just fine. So let's hope he does. I'm praying for him. Always praying for this country. Thank you again for tuning in. You can always like, share, or subscribe. You can also write to me at Christy, that's CHRISTY, Christy at AmericaAgainstHollywood.com. I'll be happy to respond to anything. And this was Clearing the Smoke. Thanks for being with us today, and God bless America.